After a year of investigation, Hank finally discovered that Heisenberg was actually his brother-in-law, Walter White. Reflecting on the past year's baffling events, Hank realized that everything suddenly made sense. Many American TV shows explore the complexities of human nature, but few do it as richly and uniquely as Breaking Bad. Hank's career and personal life were the epitome of success. In his career, he was the head of the local DEA, tirelessly working on cases and frequently making headlines in local news for his successful busts. Personally, Hank enjoyed a comfortable, upper-middle-class life and even had his own homebrew beer business. Compared to his brother-in-law Walter, Hank felt an undeniable sense of superiority. This was evident from Walter's 50th birthday party, where Hank was the most exuberant person in the room, almost as if the party were thrown for him. Besides Hank, the only other person brimming with superiority was Marie. Like Hank, Marie always considered herself the center of attention in any situation. However, after discovering Walter's true identity, Hank's sense of superiority crumbled. As an agent of justice, Hank had a duty to investigate Walter, but as a family member, he could choose to cover for him, a decision fraught with enormous risk. While Hank was grappling with this dilemma, he learned that a mentally shattered Jesse Pinkman had been brought to the police station. Hank hoped Jesse could provide a breakthrough. Hank noticed Jesse's distressed state, likely due to a falling out with Walter, and offered to use his influence to get Jesse out of the station in exchange for cooperation. Apparently Hank didn't understand Jesse's true feelings, and because of their previous problems, Jesse didn't agree to work with him. Before Hank finished talking, Saul learned the news and came to the police station immediately. Seeing Saul arrive, Hank cooperatively left the scene. A dejected Hank returned home, where Marie urgently inquired about the progress. Learning that Hank had not yet exposed Walter's identity, Marie became anxious, fearing the repercussions on her if others discovered Walter's true identity. Hank retorted that he lacked sufficient evidence and needed more clues, angrily telling Marie not to interfere with his work. Meanwhile, Walter devised a countermeasure. He recorded a video and then arranged a meeting with Hank and Marie to negotiate. At this point, the colors of all four of their clothes are more representative. Walter and Skyler wore outfits signifying their attempts to cleanse themselves, while Hank wore deep blue, representing his dogged pursuit of Heisenberg. In a moment of lost sanity, Marie screamed for Walter to die. Family ties shattered into enmity, underscored by her choice of black clothing to highlight the darkness of human nature. During the negotiation, Walter sought a peaceful resolution, asking Hank to abandon his investigation, but Hank and Marie were merciless, clearly intent on bringing Walter down. Despite feeling uneasy, Walter sensed that Hank lacked concrete evidence. Seeing no further point in continuing, a disappointed Walter got up to leave, but not before dropping off his pre-recorded confession video. Watching the video, one couldn't help but admire Walter's meticulous planning.
My name is Walter Hartwell White. I live at 308 Negra Arroyo Lane, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87104. This is my confession. If you're watching this tape, I'm probably dead. Murdered by my brother-in-law, Hank Schrader. Hank has been building a meth for over a year now and using me. Shortly after my 50th birthday, he asked that I use my chemistry knowledge to... I didn't want my family to go into financial ruin, so I agreed. Hank had a partner, a businessman named Gustavo Fring. Hank sold me into servitude to this man. When I tried to quit, Fring threatened my family. I didn't know where to turn. Working with a man named Hector Salamanca, he plotted to kill Fring. The bomb that he used was built by me. And he gave me no option in that. Hank had risen to become the head of the Albuquerque DEA. To keep me in line, he took my children. For 3 months, he kept them. I hated myself for what I had brought upon my family. Recently, I tried once again to quit, and in response, he gave me this. I can't take this anymore. I live in fear every day that Hank will kill me. All I could think to do was to make this video and hope that the world will finally see this man for what he really is.
Though the video was filled with lies, some of the facts could not withstand scrutiny. If the case implicated Hank, he would be the first to be suspended, given the suspicion cast by their familial relationship. Moreover, Hank's obsession with the Heisenberg case could easily be interpreted as complicity. George was an example. He was dismissed after merely getting close to Gus Fring. Hank's involvement would be undeniable, especially since he had indeed spent Walter's illicit money. Faced with these lies and the harsh reality of their medical expenses, Hank and Marie were left bewildered. Hank was powerless against Walter's investigation. Hank's determination to bring down Walter had both personal and professional motivations. His unwavering sense of justice was indeed admirable. On the other hand, Marie's hatred for Walter was mostly personal. She firmly believed that seeing Walter brought to justice was the right course of action. Marie's wish for Walter to commit suicide was simply a means to avoid any responsibility for using Walter's illicit money for Hank's rehabilitation. Marie's thoughts were always self-centered, making her one of the most disliked characters in the entire series. However, behind the scenes, the actress playing Marie must have made significant sacrifices. Portraying a character that everyone hates is no easy task, as it is meant to highlight the protagonist's moral dilemmas. Therefore, it's important to watch the show with a rational perspective and not harbor extreme hatred towards a particular character, nor direct verbal attacks at the actor in real life. What kind of hatred could drive an enraged Jesse to storm into Walter's house, dousing it with gasoline? He vowed to burn the entire house to the ground. Just half a day earlier, Jesse, freshly released from the police station, was invited by Walter to have a heart-to-heart in a remote location. Fearing that a mentally unstable Jesse might cause trouble, Walter, who was ready to retire from the contraband business, suggested that Jesse disappear and start a new life. Although Jesse's been in a very bad mood for a few days, he's still got his head on straight. He knew that Hank had already discovered Walter's identity as Heisenberg, so he unleashed his anger on Walter.
Can you just stop working me for like 10 seconds straight? Stop jerking me around. All right, just drop the whole concerned dad thing and tell me the truth. I mean, you're acting like me leaving town is, you need me gone, because your dickhead brother-in-law is never gonna let up. Just say so. Just tell me you don't give a shit about me, and it's either this, or you'll kill me the same way you killed Mike. Just tell me you need this.
Walter did not argue against Jesse's accusations. Instead, he embraced Jesse tightly, like a concerned elder. The scene changes. Saul has contacted the connector, but also according to Walter's request to bring him enough startup funds. Feeling downcast, Jesse wanted to use some contraband to calm his nerves, but Saul informed him that the fixer didn't work with addicts. To ensure Jesse could leave smoothly, Saul asked him to surrender the remaining contraband. However, Jesse, stubborn as always, ignored the advice and pocketed the remaining contraband. Unbeknownst to Jesse, Huel, acting on Saul's orders, had swapped the contraband from Jesse's pocket as he was leaving. While waiting for the car, a bored Jesse wanted to relax, only to find that the contraband he had hidden was missing. When he found a cigarette instead, Jesse instantly realized that Huel had stolen it. This led him to conclude that Huel must have also taken the rice and cigarette, with Walter orchestrating the theft. So, Jesse abandoned his plans for a new life and decided to go back and settle the score with Walter, who had deceived him. The scene of Jesse waiting for the car was quite symbolic. The square stone blocks with slanted shadows in the background resembled rows of tombstones. It was as if Jesse was declaring that his former identity was dead, with his last presence in this graveyard-like place. Once Jesse boarded that car to the future, his new life would begin. However, upon realizing everything because of the cigarette, Jesse had a choice: to escape everything or confront Walter and end it all. The road signs for left and right turns in the bottom left corner were quite clear, reflecting Jesse's moment of decision. Enraged, Jesse stormed into Saul's office. A bewildered Saul, unaware of the situation, was met with Jesse's furious assault. As the injured Saul reached for a gun to defend himself, Jesse quickly disarmed him. Under Jesse's intense interrogation, Saul confessed that Huel had stolen the rice and cigarette and shifted the blame onto Walter. Seizing Saul's car keys, Jesse drove off to confront Walter. This led to the scene we saw at the beginning. The injured Saul, sensing trouble, hurried to inform the unaware Walter. Upon receiving the news, Walter didn't want to alarm Skyler. He excused himself, saying he needed to fix the vending machine and retrieved the revolver hidden inside. He then made another excuse about picking up medicine from the pharmacy and headed home. Seeing Saul's car parked in front of the house, a cautious Walter sneaked in through the backyard. However, once inside, Walter found the house empty, with gasoline soaked into the carpet. Walter was puzzled, thinking Jesse was truly a troublesome kid. To prevent Jesse from harming his family, Walter arranged for Huel to secretly protect Skyler and Walter Jr. Then Walter attempted to contact Jesse.
Jesse, listen, and I know you're angry. I want to fix this, okay? We'll talk and we will fix this. Sleep it off, okay? And then call me. Be safe.
He hired a professional cleaning crew to remove the gasoline from the house, aiming to restore everything before Skyler returned from work. He knew his inquisitive wife wouldn't let it go otherwise. Walter could still smell gasoline despite the cleaning crew's repeated efforts. When the crew said they had cleaned thoroughly, Walter pulled out more money.
Until you pull this up and get new carpet, new padding, this is as good as it gets.
It seemed that money couldn't solve this problem, but how could this stump the master of lies? Walter? What he did next would astound you. He soaked his clothes in gasoline, even dousing his beloved car. When Skyler came home from work, she found a bizarre scene. Walter blamed a malfunctioning gas pump at the gas station for the gasoline smell. He felt his explanation perfectly shifted the blame to the gas station, but Skyler, with her keen intuition, remained unconvinced. Sensing Walter was lying, Walter suggested they temporarily move to a hotel, treating it like a vacation. His son readily agreed. In front of Walter Jr., Skyler went along with Walter's lie. That night, Walter slipped out of the hotel to ask Saul about Jesse's whereabouts, but Saul's man QB reported that they hadn't found Jesse anywhere in town. Walter instructed them to keep looking. Saul questioned Walter on what he planned to do if they found Jesse. Without much thought, Walter intended to resolve things peacefully with Jesse, but Saul hinted at eliminating Jesse. Hearing this, Walter angrily rebuked Saul.
Do not float that idea again. Find him.
Skyler, hiding in the room, witnessed Walter secretly meeting with Saul. Walter's life fell apart, and he had to confess to Skyler that he and Jesse had a disagreement. Promising to resolve it quickly, Skyler then realized that Jesse was the one who tried to burn down their house. For the safety of herself and her family, Skyler suggested that Walter should get rid of Jesse, viewing him as a constant threat. Both Saul, who had been beaten up by Jesse, and the increasingly dark Skyler wanted to take action against Jesse. Do you think Walter will listen to them and eliminate Jesse?